Hey everyone, today I'm going over the Battle of Marathon in a way that's much easier to understand. This isn't just another old story from the past. It's actually one of the biggest moments that helped shape how later history in the Western world turned out. The Battle of Marathon happened in 490 BC. At this time, Persia was a huge and powerful empire ruled by King Darius I. Greece, meanwhile, wasn't one country. It was a bunch of independent city-states, and one of the strongest among them was Athens. Athens also had help from a small city called Plataea. Together, they were getting ready to face a huge Persian army led by two commanders named Datis and Artaphernes. Persia attacked because Athens and another city, Eretria, had helped a group of Greek cities called Ionian Revolt against Persian control. Athens and Eretria even helped burn part of the Persian city of Sardis before being beaten back. King Darius took this as a deep insult. Some ancient stories even say he prayed every day to get revenge on Athens. He wasn't just angry, he was determined. After Persia crushed the Ionian Revolt, Darius sent a massive force across the sea. They attacked islands on the way, destroyed Eretria, and then landed near Athens in a place called Marathon, which was a big open plain. Athens gathered every soldier they had. Plataea also sent 1,000 soldiers to help, which gave the Athenians a big confidence boost. Athens also asked Sparta for help, but Sparta was busy with a religious festival and said they couldn't march until the full moon. So Athens had to stand alone for a while. For several days, the two armies faced each other, but neither side moved. Athens blocked the two paths the Persians needed to reach the city. The Persians didn't want to attack heavily armored Greek soldiers head-on, and the Greeks didn't want to walk into Persian cavalry. Each day that passed helped Athens, because Sparta was getting closer to joining them. Nobody knows for sure what finally started the battle. Some people think the Persian cavalry left the plain, giving Athens a chance to attack. Others think the Persians finally began moving forward, forcing the Athenians to act first. Whatever happened, something changed on the fifth day, and the Athenians charged. Miltiades, the Athenian leader, set up his soldiers in a smart way. He made the center of the line thinner and the sides stronger. When the Persians pushed through the middle, the stronger Athenian sides closed in on them from both directions. The Persians suddenly found themselves surrounded, and their formation fell apart. Many of them ran back toward their ships in panic. The Athenians chased them all the way to the shore and defeated many of them as they tried to escape. The remaining Persians retreated back across the sea. With that, the first Persian invasion of Greece was over. Darius still wanted revenge and started preparing a much bigger attack. But before he could launch it, Egypt rebelled. Then Darius died, and his son Xerxes took over. Xerxes would later return with a massive army in the famous battles of Thermopylae and Salamis. Even so, the victory at Marathon meant something huge. It showed the Greeks that Persia could be beaten. It also proved that Athens didn't always need Sparta to win. Over the next 200 years, Athens would grow into the center of classical Greek culture, influencing art, philosophy, government, and learning for a long time. The story behind Marathon stretches back even farther. The Persian Empire was young and expanding quickly. It had already been taking control of regions in Europe, and many of its subjects kept trying to rebel. Before the Ionian Revolt, Persia had already taken Thrace and forced Macedonia to follow its rule. So more conflict with Greece was likely going to happen anyway. Athens itself had gone through major political changes not long before all this. They had kicked out a tyrant named Hippias, who then ran to Persia and promised them control of Athens if they helped him get his power back. Athens refused and developed a new government system that gave more power to the people. This made them even more determined not to be controlled by Persia or anyone else. When the Ionian Revolt started, Athens helped the Ionian cities, partly because those cities were originally Athenian colonies, and partly because they supported the idea of democracy. This made Persia furious and led directly to Darius planning his attack. The first Persian attempt to control Greece in 492 BC failed when their fleet was destroyed in a storm. But in 490 BC they tried again. This time they captured island after island and destroyed Eretria before heading to Marathon. The Persians landed there because Hippias, the ex-tyrant, told them it was a good place to attack Athens from. The Athenians hurried to block them. Once again, both sides waited for days. Athens was heavily outnumbered, and one wrong move could mean the end of their city. The Persians didn't want to charge uphill into strong Greek soldiers. On the fifth day, something finally happened that forced the Athenians to attack. If they stood still too long, Persian arrows would wear them down. Hoplite soldiers had to fight up close, so Miltiades made the call to charge. The plan worked better than anyone expected. Even though they were outnumbered, the Athenians used smarter tactics, broke through the Persian lines, and chased them back to their ships. And that's where this part of the story ends, on the shores of Marathon, with Athens proving to the entire ancient world that they were stronger and braver than anyone expected. From here, the fight moves into a few clear stages. First, both armies lined up facing each other. They were pretty far apart at first, around 1,500 meters. Miltiades arranged the Athenian ranks a bit oddly. The middle was thinner, only 4 men deep, while the sides were thicker, 8 deep. Some people say this was to trap the Persians later, but that sounds like a very advanced trick for the time. More likely, Miltiades just wanted his line to be as long as the Persian line, so the Persians couldn't swing around the Athenians. Next, the Greeks moved forward. The usual story says they ran the whole way, but carrying heavy armor and shields makes that unlikely. What probably happened is they marched until they were about 200 meters from the Persian archers, the point where arrows stopped being very effective, and then broke into a run to close the gap fast. This surprised the Persians, who thought the Greeks were crazy to rush forward without archers or cavalry of their own. When the two sides hit each other, the fight got messy. The Persian troops in the middle pushed hard and actually forced the thin Greek center to fall back. Herodotus says the foreigners in the middle fought well and chased the Greeks inland for a time. But on the wings, the Athenian and Plataean soldiers beat the weaker Persian forces there. That's when the plan flipped. The Athenian wings, after defeating the Persian flanks, swung inward and hit the Persian center from the sides. The Persians who had broken through the middle suddenly found themselves surrounded. Panic spread, and many of them ran wildly back toward their ships. Some fled into nearby marshes and drowned because they didn't know the ground. The Athenians chased the Persians all the way to the shoreline and captured some ships. There's a famous story about a man named Cyneaeus, who grabbed a Persian ship as it tried to push off. The crew cut his hand off and he died trying to hold the boat. Ancient sources say about 6,400 Persians were counted dead on the plain, while the Athenians lost 192, and the Plataeans 11. Those numbers are from Herodotus and might not be exact, but they show the scale of the victory. So why did the Greeks win? Most scholars point to a few simple reasons. The Greek hoplites had better gear for close fighting and a lot of experience in hand-to-hand combat. Their phalanx formation let them press forward together and hold their ground. The Persians depended more on missile troops and lighter infantry, which didn't work as well up close against heavily armored hoplites. The thinning of the Greek center seems to have been more about matching line length than some brilliant long-term plan. In the end, courage and discipline mattered a lot. The Greeks stood their ground, rushed forward when they needed to, and when the wings broke the enemy they didn't scatter but came back to help the center. Some historians also argue the Persians were simply not organized for a close-quarters fight like this. Bowmen and light infantry are weak in tight combat without strong support. That weakness helped make Marathon the kind of victory that people still talk about today.